Okay. I will appreciate if we can turn on our videos and let's have the vibe of being in person's class. So today is the 5th of February, and we are still on lesson three, and we should be rounding up lesson three on Tuesday. I'm sorry we're a bit late on lesson three, because I had to cancel one of the classes. So what do we have for this week? There will be a class reflection activities. A class, yeah, there will be an in-class activity and there will be a class reflection quiz at the end of today's class. So please, I noticed some people actually attend the classes, but they are not submitting the class reflection. This is very important. This is very important. These class reflections are also graded. It is my way of taking the class attendance. So maybe I can ask you to provide a code, the sample code we have written in class. It could be a quiz, just a very short 5 question, 3 questions kind of quiz. So it's also part of your grades. It's actually contributing to your grade. So I want you to take the opportunity to answer your class reflection activities. So it's not on every class, but at least um towards the end of each lesson, I have this kind of activities to ensure like we understood what we discussed in that lesson or in that module, I'll call it that way. So another important thing I like to mention today is your lesson three Zybox assignment. So you have your challenge, participation, and lab for lesson three, due for next week Friday. I'm expecting you to have to start working on these lessons, and this activities on your Zybox. Why? Because you have many things to cover for the challenge, participation, and dialogue. So you need to manage your time. You need to manage your time very well. So you're not struggling, towards the due dates. So we have I think we are almost done with lesson three. We're rounding up lesson three, and I'm expecting you to start, this weekend. By this weekend, I'm expecting you to start um your Zybook assessment already. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm more than happy to, I'm here to support, I'm here to help you. So I'm more than happy to assist you if you have any concerns. Even outside the virtual office hour, you can always send me a Canvas message. And if you have any issues, you can interrupt me in class. You can stay after the class with discuss it as well. So make use of all these avenue. Make use of all these avenue as you need them. That being said, so let's go to lesson three on your Canvas page. And like I just your Zybox, your it's very, very important. So I think I have what I want us to discuss. Please, if you have any question, interrupt me. Send me a message on chat. I have on the screen where I'm monitoring chat. So, interrupt me, drop your question on chat. Um, you don't have to wait until the end of the class if you have any question. Thumbs up. Are we ready to go? Yep. Thank you. Okay, so in today's class, what do we want to discuss? We have been saying, I think I have been saying this since the second class. So And the scanner class is a very, very important class in Java, and it is a very, very important component of the object-oriented programming language. Um, because this is where your hacks, you prompt the user, to input a value that will be saved in the memory, that will be executed in the code that we are writing. So it's like a reminder class today because I'm not introducing a new concept, but I'm reinforcing the existing concept we have learned in this class. So I want to remind you that the scanner class is how we tell our Java program to read users' inputs from the keyboard. We can also read users' inputs from files. But I mentioned it in our first classes that for the purpose of this course, it's a 2000 level course. The only scanner command we'll be writing will be inputting, we'll be prompting users to input values from the keyboard. So this is often called interactive programs. You know why? Because you're interacting with the user. You're telling the user to provide some kind of values, some kind of information that is required or that is needed to run your program. So it's interactive in nature. You are telling the program to pause, wait for the user to input, to give you a value before you continue. That's what you're telling uh, um, the compiler. That's what you're telling your program when you're using the scanner class. Pause, wait, let the user provide this value because this value is required to complete or to continue your code. So how do we use the scanner class? We have been discussing this and we have four steps to use the scanner class. We said, one, you have to import the class. You have to import, you have to, it is not a Java, it is not a Java language. The scanner is not a Java language. So it has to be imported. Oh, I want to use this specific class. I want to prompt my user to give me values to execute this code. So what should I do? I need to import, I need to call on a class that can do that for me. So you have to import the class itself, then you have to create the objects, this kind of objects you want to use. You have to create it. You have to prompt the user to give the value, and you have to read and use. So you have to read the value the user has given, and you have to store that value in memory to be used. Thumbs up if you understood what I just explained. I'm not seeing any thumbs up. Wow, thank you. Good. So, like I said, this is not, it is not part of Java language package. So it has to be imported. It has to be imported. And we have been using this code. How do we import the scanner class? How do we import the scanner class itself? So we have two ways. There are two ways we can import the scanner class. So what is the first line saying? The first line is the first approach. I'll say important style or import style to import our scanner class. And that is, you're being specific. We only need the scanner class. So you're telling the compiler, import Java, util, you're specifying you want the scanner class, a specific class. So that's why we call it a specific import. And the second one is more from, we call it the wildcard import. So here you are importing everything within that specific package where we have the scanner class. So how will I explain? Uh, package contain more than one class. For the first approach, we are calling a specific class. The second approach, we are calling the entire, the entire class. We are importing the entire class within the Java util package, or the class within this package. However, I need to emphasize this. It is important we use only one style. So I don't want first line you are importing a specific class, and the next line you are importing the whole entire package. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. As a programmer, it doesn't even make sense. You're not being efficient with your code. So you to use very important. Just use one style. Is it you're importing the entire package, or you're importing a specific class, a specific class. And in this instance, in this context, we are talking about you're importing the spanner class, which will help us to read value from our users. Any question? So what happens after we import from the code? I think last Thursday our code, the word we wrote, we had to import. Oh no, on Tuesday. Once we import that specific class, we need to create an object. We need to create an object, and we said an object is always used as define. You give the name, whatever name that suits the description of the object we're creating. So in this context, for instance, we want to use input. I think in our classes we've been using SCNR as abbreviation for scanner. So we want to use input. This is the object we have created. And this is telling the computer, like, I want you to pause and let the user provide this value using the keyboard. And once this value is given, it will be saved in this object I have created. Input. So the next step is to prompt your user. You prompt your user to provide, you're telling the user what to input. You're telling the user to type, hey, type or provide this value, enter this value. So for this specific step, we always use the print statement. We use this print statement to prompt the user to provide a specific value. So we can we can do this, either we use the print itself, which prints in the same line, or we tell the user to print in a new line. So system.out.print prints in just the same line. The same line. So you're telling the user to say, just enter the value in this line. While this tells the other system.out.print and system.out.print new line tells the computer to say, hey, the compiler understand that I'm to tell the user to type whatever, to enter whatever value they want to enter in the next line. in the next line. So I think in this class we have used most from the nest int. We've been reading integer, and I think we read double as well. I'm not sure, but I know for this class we will read double today. So these are the different data type, the different command we can read, we can ask the users to prompt. So if it's an integer, is nest int we are using. If it's a double, if it's a boolean, long, the different data type we want to read from the user. If it's a character, just one value, one string, one word, not strings, one character. These are the commands, that we have to read a specific data type, a specific data type. Any question? Thumbs up if there's no question. Thank you. So once we ask the users to input the value, what happens? It doesn't just stop there. Now we need to take the value, we need to receive the inputs the user has given us, and we need to store it somewhere in memory. This means we need to create a variable, creating a variable. Where are we going to store? Where are we going to store this value the user has given us so we can use it in executing our code? And we have to create the variable. So here is where we read from the user. So we've been using this example. Scanner input, we are creating the object here. Then we declare the variable, which is, age. Then we prompt the users to enter their age. Now the user has provided us the value of their age, maybe 15, for instance. 15, for instance. So what happens? We need to save this value in memory. How do we save the value? It's age, which is the variable we have declared. This is the container. This is where the value the user gives will be stored. Age equals input.nestInt. Why are we using nestInt here? Can anybody tell me why we use nestInt? NestInt, why not double? I'm sorry. Yeah, please speak up. You can use the chat. Numbers? Yes, because it's an O number. Exactly. Because we're dealing with an O number. You can't be 30.5 or 50.6. That's impossible. So age is an O number. We're dealing with an O number. So we have to use this expression, nest int. That's the method we need. However, if we're dealing with something like weight, height, then we're talking about double. We're talking about double here because there's always something after the decimal point. Maybe you're 50 points something kg, for instance, or 5 point something inches, So I believe you understand the concept of how we save the value the user has given us into memory. Any question? So when the compiler, when the compiler, when your program actually stop and wait for the users to give us a value, to enter a value, or to press a value, what is that called? We call that blocking in programming. Blocking. So it's a period where you have to wait. Your program waits and is waiting for the users to to interact, to give a value. Call it interactive program to give a value because value needed to execute all the codes is required from the user. Hence, the compiler, the program waits, and that waiting period until the user provide that value and press the enter key is always called blocking. That's the technical term called. So, any question? Any question? So, even question, I want us to have this in class activity. And this is what I want us to do. Please open your programming environment, IntelliJ, whatever you use. Open your programming environments. And I want us to do this exercise. So we want to calculate the area of a cycle. However, we want the input in terms of the radius. We want the input from the user. I want you to do something in this program. I want you to make pi. Okay, let me put the formula. The formula, yep. So the formula here is area equals to radius multiplied by radius multiplied by pi. And I want us to make the pi here a constant variable. We learned that last week. So I want us to make pi a constant variable. And I want radius to be coming directly from the user. So the user should input the value for radius. And I want this output, this kind of output. Enter a number for the radius. You're prompting the user to provide a number for the radius. And you're displaying, you're displaying the results for the area of a cycle using radius multiplied by radius multiplied by pi. And I want the pi here to be a constant variable. You know how we declare constant variable? We discussed that in our last class. So what I want us to do now, I am going to give you about 20 minutes to write this this line of code. Yeah, we have this line of code. First, declare the variables. You're to declare your radius, you're to declare your area, and you're to declare your constant variable, which is the pi. Then I want you to create a scanner object, whatever name, it's user defined. So whatever name you want to give your object, I want you to prompt the user to enter the radius. Read and initialize the radius. Compute, then you calculate the area of the cycle, and I want the results to be displayed as the area for the cycle of the radius is this. Are we good to go? Thumbs up if we can do that. I'll keep writing mine as well. So good, good. If you have any question, let me know. I want to see one thumbs up. Thumbs up. How we on it? Open your programming environment. Let's do this. Let's do this. Thank you. So this is the in-class activity I want us to do. Declare a variable, create a kind of object, prompt the user, which is very, very important. So I want all the concepts we've learned this week. I want us to pull it together with this exercise. So I'll be writing my, if you have any question, please interrupt. Like, mm. Hmm. You're free to use whatever naming convention, whatever naming description, I mean, for your code. I do not have issues. They're user defined. So, um, it's kind of, I'm handing my statement. Very important. Also, I would like you to incorporate the idea of using comments. Comments. Okay. So the first thing, declare variables. Oh, no, it's fine. Fine, that's fine. I need to print here. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Are you still with me, guys? Thumbs up if you're still here. Any problem with the code? Any question? So let's go. Let's go over it. Um, I like to have. Let's have so we can have the instruction. Yep. So we can have the instructions side by side. So what were we asked to do? We asked to compute the area of a cycle, but we need some value from the user. So what are we to do? Since we know we will be needing some value from the user, we need to import a specific class called the scanner class, which helps us to read value, to get value from the user. We open our class and of course the main method. And the first thing we have to do is to declare our variables. So we have double area because area is not an owner verb. Radius could be integer, but in the sense we're using a double radius. And like I said, I want the pi to be a constant variable. So how do we declare a constant variable? Find a double and the pi itself, the value of the pi. And I mentioned this in the last class that it is recommended that everything, put the declaration and initialization of our double to be on a single, in a single statement line, in a single statement line. And the next thing we have to create the scanner objects. What is the name of the object I've created here? SCRN, abbreviation for scanner. It's user defined. You could name it anything. And we have prompts that where is the value? Where should the value comes from? It should come from the user val keyboard. So we prompt the user using our print statements in a single line, in the same line, enter the number enter a number for radios. Enter, it could be a value, it could this is whatever how you want to prompt, what information you want to give your users on the value you're requesting, or the program is requesting from the user. And after that, we have to read and initialize the radius itself. So how do we do that? We need these variables. We need a container where we are going to save the value the user is providing us for radius. So radius equals to this object we've called, telling that you have to read from this specific object that we've called. And it's next double because we are looking for our radius to be, double, 45 points, whatever you want to put it. And compute the area. How do we compute the area of the circle? Using this formula, radius multiplied by radius multiplied by pi. And the last thing we have to do is to display the results. System.how.print new line, because we want it to be on a new line. We don't want to be on a single line. So we are telling the compiler, print the statement on a new line. The area of a cycle of radius 4.0, which is a double, is 6361.71975. So we close our main and we close our class. Any question? Any question?
Oh, I got a question.
Okay.
So, for just to see the order, does it matter if, like, let's say I declared the variable and then did the import scanner?
You declare the variable.
Like, if I did it in that order first?
Oh, you can declare your variable in the import scanner. However, what is important is you're declaring your variable. Do you understand me? Because
Yes.
you need a container where whatever value the user is providing will be stored in memory. This is the arrangement. This is the order I want it for clarity, but you can always declare your variable, the radius variable at the point where you are asking the user to input it. Yes. But
Okay.
for how will I put it? For better understanding, we're talking about just few lines of code here when we're just calculating area of a cycle. Imagine you're writing a very long lines of code to build a specific software or whatever. So you want to make your order in a way that anybody could pick up your code and understand what has been done. You
Okay.
understand me? Put your
Yeah, I got you.
comments so anybody can pick up the code and say, oh, this is what you've done here. I think this is the approach you used here. This is the method you used there. So for clarity's sake, I will prefer you declare your variables before initializing it. However, you
Okay.
can do it at the same point. It's cool.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question? Good. I think it thumbs up if your code worked well. Were you able to run your code? Perfect. 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 I have okay. Thank you. So that being said, I think that's the end for the scanner class. Um, so I would like you to go through there are other examples, there are other examples in your lesson notes, in your lecture notes, lesson note, whatever you want to call it. So take your time, go through these examples. If you have any questions, please let me know. let me know. Okay, so that being said, let's move to the last material we have for the session. And this is where we're gonna be discussing the different operators and math functions that we use in Java. So first, would you understand can anybody tell me what you understand by compound operators? What are compound operators? Compound operators. You can use the chat. What are compound operators? No, so sad. Okay, perform two or more options instead of one. It's basically making two instructions and what? Good, good, good. Compound operators are also known as augmented operators. And when do we use them? When do we use them? When we want to shorten, we want to shorten our statement. We want to perform like you right said in the chat, which is absolutely correct. We want to perform two operations, for instance, two or more operations, but I will use the word two operations at once. That's absolutely correct. When we want to shorten um our expression, when we want to shorten our statements, it always use also use when we want to update, when we want to update the value we have saved in memory. That's the most important thing here. When we want to update, so instead of writing two or more lines of code to update that value, we can always use this compound statement. And it's always the um operation signs such as your plus, your multiplication, your numeric operator signs with the assignment sign. So you're having plus equals. So it's always used when you want to modify, when you want to update the value you have saved in memory for a specific variable. What do I mean? So for instance, in memory, we have saved high as maybe we have saved I as 5 or I has 2, for instance. Let me use 2. I as 2. So the value for high int high, well, int high it's a what? So maybe num1. I don't want to use one character to name the variable. So int num1 in memory save as 2. You already declared and initialize it as 2. However, you want to override the value you've saved it in memory. So all you have to do is that value you've saved using plus and equals with a new value you want to add to it. So maybe you've saved num1 as 2. I think I need a notebook. We'll incorporate that in the next lesson. So we've saved num1 as 2, and we want to override num1 to the 7, for instance. What do I have to do? I don't want to write a new line of code. All I have to say is, oh, so many lines of code to override it. It's using this addition assignment operator. I can say num1 plus equals 5. It tells the compiler the value for num1 plus 5. That's the new value to be saved in memory for num1. The previous value for num1, which is 2, plus 5. That will be the new value saved in memory for number 1, which is 7. So when we want to override the value of saved in memory, we use the current value in memory plus the new, the additional value we want to add to it to save that specific value, that specific variable in memory. So it override. So for instance, we have high plus equals 8, which simply means we are saying the current value of high plus 8 should be the new value to be saved in memory. Thumbs up if you understand what I just described. Thank you. And it's the same scenario for the other, the other compound operators. Either it's subtraction assignments, multiplication assignments, division assignment. It's simply the same thing. We're taking the current value that we have in memory plus a new value you want to add to override the memory, the value saved in memory to a new value. So in this, you're simplifying the way you want to override the value you have in the memory already. So instead of having a long line of code just to add or to subtract or to multiply, to change. Let me just choose that word, to modify the current value of a variable. Instead of having to write 3 or 4 lines of code, these assignment operators actually simplify how you saved new value in memory. And the next type of operator we will discuss is the increment and decrement operator. What do you understand by increments? From the word increments, you're increasing. When you think of increment, you're adding, you're adding 1 to a current value in memory. And when we talk about decrement, it's in just simple layman, you're subtracting, you're removing, you're decreasing the current value we have in memory by 1. And we use the plus plus or the minus minus sign for increments or decrements. However, we have 2 types. We have 2 types for these two operators. So we have the pre-increments and we have the post-increment. It's the same thing for the pre-decrement and we have the post-decrement. What happens in the pre? What do you think? Please use your chart. What happens in the pre? From the word pre. From the word pre, what do you think? Someone willing to share from the word pre? Before it happens, before, exactly, that's the word. Before, pre, and post. So before the current value, the code executes, and post to the current value, the code executes. That's just the simple form. That's the location. It's just signifying the location of the symbol in respect to the variables. So in pre, the symbol is actually located before the variable. And in post, the symbols are located after, it's always after the variable. So it is similar to decrements. It's the same thing we have for increments, is the same scenario we have for decrement. However, there's something important we need to learn here. The way, the order in which the computer executes the pre and the post is different. Just from the word, it's just from the name. The order is different. In 3 increment, for instance, what happens? In 3 increments, for instance, the variable is incremented first. Then the new value is used for the expression. So for instance, we already declare int high equals to 10. And now we're declaring a new variable, int new num equals to 10 multiplied by high plus plus. So this is post. But I want us to do the pre first. So, because I want you to understand the difference. What happens in the pre? Because it's plus plus high. What happens? The order is that the computer executes this first. So it takes 1 plus 10. Do you understand me? It takes 1 plus 10. We're saying high equals to high, the value we have here, 10 plus 1. So that's 11. Before calculating the left side, we have discussed the order, the proceedings it's the same way in Java language. So it takes the value, it calculates the value first before proceeding. So that's 11 multiplied by 10. And that is the new value that will be saved for new num. That will be the value that will be saved for new num. Do you understand what happens in the pre? Thumbs up if you understood what I just explained. It's quite I guess nobody thumbs up, so I'm going to go again. Okay. So what happens in the pre? For instance, we have int x equals 5. Then int y equals plus plus x. What happens? These are the steps. Must first become 6. And that value 6 will be saved for the value y. So it's the same scenario I just explained here. What happens in the pre is that the order of execution, the computer first, execute this plus plus high, which is 1 plus high or high plus 1. And that gives the new value for high as 11. Then to compute for the new variable int new num, the compiler takes the new value of high, which is 11, and that equals 10 multiplied by the new value of high, which is 11. That's what happens in the pre. That's how the computer saved this, the compiler saved this in memory. It happens pre because it's pre. So all the execution must be done pre before you calculate the new variable. However, in post, it's different. So what happened in post? The current value is used in the expression first, then the variable is incremented. So it's just the opposite that happens. So what happens in post? We have int high equals 10. And we have a new variable, int new num equals 10. So the compiler still takes the value of this 10 for high to compute the new variable and save the new variable in memory before updating the new value for high, which will now be 11. So it's opposite. The compiler continue to execute the second, this calculate the value of new num variable before updating the value of high in memory. So that's what happens in the post. While in the pre, the compiler first updates the value. The compiler will first update the value of its high. before before calculating the new norm variable. Do you understand this? Any question? Thumbs up if there is no question. Thank you very much. So I would like us to stop here for today. But before you go, I have let's go to our assignments on Canvas. So we have a class reflection activity before we go today. Um Class reflection. I have it. Yeah, zero for the 5th of February, 0205. So click on it. I think we have, yeah, just 5 questions. 5 questions. Submit this before you end the class today. So it's a basic things of the things where just confirming if we understood the concept we discussed today. Mm. Please submit the class reflection activity. I think it's open already. Yeah. It's part of your grade. It's very important. Submit. If you have any question, let me know. If there's no question, we can call it a day. See you on Tuesday. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And stop recording.